is Mrs. Sima, and this is Oberland Television. Today is another episode of an interactive section, and we are privileged to be with a professional doctor. Sir, please, would you like to tell us your name?
My name is Dr. Philip Osho.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So I want to ask you, what inspired you to be a doctor?
It's a long time now. However, we saw doctors like semi-gods in those days, so we decided to. And my parents also encouraged me. My dad he encouraged me. My mom encouraged me. So we found ourselves in the profession. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So, he has already said, he got his inspiration from loved ones around. Yeah. So the next question now is, what is the most rewarding part of this job?
When you treat patients and they get well and they are so happy, feels like heaven, especially when they come back to give you something. And that something may not be anything. Somebody has given me 500 naira before because that was all she had. And I was very happy because it means that she really appreciated what I did,
What are the most common health issues people face today?
Well, we see in Nigeria, the very basic things are still our problems.
Okay.
Malaria, typhoid, I'm a burns surgeon. I treat patients with burns. And we usually say that the people that have burns are the poor people, When some people cook inside their parlor, they have inside their rooms, they have the children that are still crawling. These are some of the issues, before we talk about the emerging trends of cancer nowadays, breast cancer, prostate cancer, cervical cancers, that is ravaging our people. So these are some of the things. There are communicable diseases. There are diseases like tuberculosis that you find in patients with HIV nowadays. When they have HIV, it suppresses their immunity. If there was a tuberculosis there before, it will rear up his head again. And tuberculosis is a communicable disease. So if they stay in crowded areas, when you cough, the droplets can be transferred to other people. When the place is crowded, breeze cannot dilute the whole thing and take them out. You start breathing them in, and many people are going back. There's no pipe bomb water nowadays, so waterborne disease could also be a problem. Even though we thank God for the technology of boreholes nowadays, where you can easily get water and dam the the waterboard. If not, would have been going to streams now. You see somebody will pool upstream. Then some people, that upstream is some people's downstream. Some people upstream will pool there. You will say it's upstream, you come and pool here. Then the people that are downstream will take it upstream, So these are the problems. It's just a cycle of poverty, ignorance, and disease. So the poverty and the ignorance will eventually lead to disease one way or the other. Malnutrition is also there, Nowadays we have the minimum wage of 70,000. If you're on minimum wage and you have a child or two to take care of, how much can you really give them proper nutrition with that kind of money? Putting rent aside, putting other things aside before you now take care of the children. So the problem we really have is that of poverty, and the very common diseases are still diseases that are ravaging us. Of course, we also have people that are now affluent now taking the diet of the white man. So the disease of the white men are also coming in. Hypertension, diabetes, these are problems and there are complications. Hypertension itself may not be a problem like that, is a problem. However, the complications of hypertension can be a problem. For example, hypertensive heart disease. Hypertension is something that can lead to stroke. And diabetes also is like that. Diabetes also with its complications can be a problem. Apart from trauma, nowadays, the commonest cause of amputation in our people is diabetes. And amputation is just one of them. What is causing you to amputate may destroy the kidneys also, can also destroy the heart, can also destroy the eyes. You understand? So these are problems are general. But I told you, the commonest ones are still malaria and typhoid. I'm sure that in the last 1 year, you have treated malaria at least once or twice,
Okay, so you made mention of diabetes and how diabetes can lead to stroke. So is that most times I hear that diabetic patients are usually older people. So how true is that?
Yes, diabetics are usually older people,
Is it only for older people?
but nowadays we see young people also having it because I said something earlier on that we have started switching over to the diet of the white man. We just eat fat, eat everything, and you when you eat more than you need, also you start storing, and when you start storing, it can lead to all these problems. However, before now, it used to be thought that if you have diabetes before 45, there are two types of diabetes, at least major types that we know. We have the insulin dependent and non-insulin dependent. So those ones that are non-insulin dependent, they are the ones that, well, let's put it like this: there are some that you see in adults. That type of diabetes is the one that is because when they are growing older, probably they become obese and they become insulin sensitive. Okay, insulin is sensitive and they develop diabetes. So if you give them more insulin, they will do well. Then there are some children. Those children, they were born with problem with their pancreas. Or as they were growing up, there's a process that caused problem to their pancreas, or specifically to the cells that produce insulin in there. So those ones, they are insulin dependent. As in, you can't treat them without insulin. For the adult, you can give them drugs that can make their pancreas produce more insulin, can give them drugs that can help their cells to take up more glucose, that makes them more sensitive to insulin. But for those other ones that are insulin dependent, those ones that are insulin dependent, you must give them insulin because they don't even have insulin in the first place. And what insulin does basically is to help drive sugar from outside the cells into the cells, especially in places like the liver, the muscles, so that it will reduce the blood sugar. You understand? I will give you an instance. If you have oxygen here, and your nose is blocked, you will be starving of oxygen. But there's oxygen. That is what the problem in insulin is. That's why we say in diabetes, that's why we call it suffering in the midst of plenty. The oxygen is everywhere. The cells are not uptaking either because insulin is not available, or is available but is not able to do the work. So you see it both in children nowadays because of our diet and the rest. You see it in children, see it in adults.